Welcome back to Real Estate is Crazy, filming and recording from beautiful San Diego. If you don't live here, you want to. I'm David Haghighi, and this is Christina Smith.
Yeah, this is a fancy intro. Jeez. All right.
You've done this before.
Yes.
I don't know. Was that too much?
No, not too much at all.
I want to be that guy on the car commercials, the fast talkers at the end with the disclaimers.
I know those. I remember those guys.
Yeah. The truth is I do talk fast a lot, and I probably shouldn't, but I have to keep up with my thoughts. They got to come out at the same speed.
But then you have to follow up with, like, this podcast may cause diarrhea, blindness, and
so sorry. Welcome.
Welcome.
We're here with Joe Vahedi, one of my favorites. He's a San Diego guy. We're San Diego people. That's why I put out intros like that. We love it here, and Joe's got some fun stories. We're really excited to have him.
Yeah, and we're going to jump right in because, you know, we were talking, I mean, we missed my whole segue into my pants. So, that sounded horrible, first of all. I'm sorry.
You mean which pants you were wearing today, right?
Oh, man.
Get it. I'm like,
okay, wipe
today.
the sweat from the brow. This is funny.
I was preparing to get dressed because you brought up, like, how should I dress today? And then I was very aware, I think the last few podcasts, I barely brushed my hair. So I decided to make an effort today. And then I didn't do laundry. And I found an old pair of jeans that I thought I'd lost. And I was like, okay, I think I can squeeze into these for today. So that was really...
And then I said I had a stack that I'm hoping someday I'll be able to fit in again. But that's new to me because I've always been rail thin. And then Joe over here, he's a bodybuilder. So, you know, he doesn't have these problems.
Yeah, he just has to...
Yeah, get an extra belt hold. Depends what time of the year it is.
As long as you're not eating boiled chicken breast with no seasoning, you know.
No, I changed. I got.
You got out of that?
I got a good balance going on for sure.
Oh man, that was a crazy intro. Okay, so Joe, you know, we're not trying to be too serious today, but apparently you have a serious story that we need to talk about.
I got some serious ones. I got some funny ones as well, I think. Or I mean, we'll see how the viewers might take it.
I want to start with funny.
Yeah,
I want to know
let's keep it going.
about the weirdest situation you've come across in this business.
So I got one on the top of my mind right now.
Okay, good.
So this story with some past clients goes about 3 years ago. I helped a young couple buy their first home, a single-family home in Oceanside, backing up to a park.
Oceanside.
Yeah, it was a really nice area in Oceanside off the 76. Family neighborhood. You know, that's kind of what they wanted realistically. The wife of the couple was in Amsterdam the whole time, so she was just getting FaceTime videos of houses, things like that.
What? This was 2020?
It was 2020.
Yeah, very common.
I say early 2020. They had like a 1 or 2 year old at the moment, and she was pregnant with their second child. So my client, you know, flew back to Amsterdam where she lived and was a citizen of to watch the birth of their second child. During that time, you know, we identified a home, got it into escrow, and you know, we did the request for repairs, all the due diligence, you know, did the final walkthrough with them. And they closed, and I pretty much just had to leave the keys in a lockbox, and he was back a couple weeks later to actually
Seems like
close on the
everything
home.
was perfect.
It sounds
right?
so smooth.
Sounds beautiful.
Sounded pretty smooth, you know.
You're going to have pain in the beginning or the end in real estate.
Yeah, the sellers were cool, did a great job cleaning up the place, giving credit, stuff like that for us.
Which is rare.
It was needed. Yeah, it was rare. And, you know, the market always changes. Obviously, the market was a little different back then.
Yeah.
So, you know, they got the home they wanted, things like that. He was excited that behind him was the park, so, you know, he'd be able to play there with their kids. They have a little front yard, all that kind of stuff. You know, and I always follow up with my clients. I check in with them, see how things are going, and I would say 2 to 3 months later, I called or sent a text, I think it was, like, hey, you know, just wanted to check in, see how things are going, make sure your wife's here and your kids and everybody's loving everything. I want to meet them. You know, I haven't
Good
met
job,
them.
Joe. Good job.
I appreciate that.
Most agents don't keep in touch.
I try.
They get their money and run.
Yeah, my script's always, I'm never going to help you buy a home that I can't help you sell. So I'm a lifer, you know.
I mean, honestly, I think it's proven that that's the way to do this business.
Lifer. Yep.
Absolutely, you know, create those relationships.
But very few agents do it. Okay,
That's
we'll talk
true.
more about
That's
that
true.
later.
That's true. I definitely have some people I work with who, you know, I'd never have any follow-up.
But then how would you find out the weird stuff that happens after?
Exactly, right? The weird stuff that happens afterwards. Again, you're always kind of fingers crossed, like hopefully they don't say, when you think, how are things going? You never want to hear, like, you're hoping it's good, right?
Yeah.
But this was, you know, kind of, I got a curveball. He was like, well, you know, we like the house. Everything's good with the house. Just, you know, was there anything on the seller's disclosures about a noise nuisance in the neighborhood? And, you know, I pull up the seller's disclosures from a couple years before and look it up, and, or I'm sorry, a couple months before, and I didn't see anything about noise at all.
It probably would have been discussed if it was on there.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, right. I would look at them first. Obviously, nothing was on there. And I go, why? And he goes, well, somebody in the neighborhood listens or watches pornography extremely loud, like
surround sound,
so loud that like the
3D
whole neighborhood
sound.
can hear this.
Did you know they have 3D sound?
Do they have 3D sound?
Yeah.
It might be 3D sound.
Oh my
I think it like
God,
comes
that's
out at you. Oh my
horrifying.
god.
That's horrifying. I'm
again.
imagining pornography
okay.
blasting through my neighborhood.
I'm
right
imagining.
now.
What do you tell your kids if they don't know about it?
Well, I can imagine the rest of the neighborhood who's got to explain this to their children. Luckily, his kids were like 2 years old probably, so there wasn't much to explain other than keeping them up at night. Probably.
Did he know which neighbor it was?
He didn't know which neighbor. I don't think they could tell which neighbor. It was just kind of
Coming
echoing,
out of a random window.
Just basically echoing throughout the neighborhood. These sounds and this noise, right? Just these sounds.
These sounds and these noises.
I think I would refer to those as unsavory. The truth is, I mean,
Unsavory?
I try to describe these things to my buyers.
So
like
politically correct.
the freeway. We refer to the freeway loosely as the poor man's ocean, right? It's a soft
I've never
sound.
heard that.
Because you didn't grow up selling real estate in Oceanside and Vista.
Oh,
That's a good one.
It's true.
Poor man's
The poor man's ocean.
ocean.
Well,
okay. All right.
you have to explain the sound somehow and get a fountain. Yeah, exactly. Get a fountain.
Get it.
Fountains
I get
help.
it.
But, perspective is everything. And I think that just to say this is unsavory, it has a negative effect on real estate value. But if you want to hold the seller accountable, you got to prove that he knew that was an adverse factor, a nuisance.
Well,
Absolutely.
Did it ever get resolved?
He or she.
Did they ever find out what happened?
Well,
that's a yes.
as the story goes, I mean, I guess that was kind of the end of that conversation with him, as in nothing was on the disclosures. I'm sorry, I don't
we
really
can't
know
do
what to
anything.
say. Have you
Yeah.
tried calling, your local police and just been like, hey, maybe knock on the door, like, can you
Yes.
turn that down? Type of situation. I mean, I didn't really know what else to do in that type of situation.
Yeah, that's pretty sound advice. There's really not much else you can do, especially socially when you deal with neighbors. It can be dangerous territory.
So that was kind of that. Obviously, I've checked in numerous times since then, but it never really got to that conversation. And I would say, 2-3 months ago, I was leaving.
A lot of agents would stop communicating right there.
Yeah, right. It kind of makes it awkward. You're afraid to like reach out again because you're just like,
it's that agent who didn't tell us about the porno neighbor again.
Did it stop?
Yeah. So I was in a Cheesecake Factory in Oceanside about 3 months ago, leaving, and all of a sudden I hear Joe, and I look behind me, and sure enough, it's my client and his wife that I had never met. So I was so excited to like see her and meet her for the first time. I was just almost like, we were all excited to see each other because it's very rare that
The porno agent in person.
Yeah, right.
Hey, sorry about the porn, lady.
And of course,
Somehow you get responsibility for this.
me just never forgetting things, and obviously that is something the story that I still remember to this day. I go, so how's
happened?
it going with the neighbor and the noise? And sure enough, the wife is just like, oh, you know what? That actually stopped. We actually met the neighbor. He was an elderly man, and we just think he maybe didn't have his hearing aid in or something because it just kind of stopped, something like that. And that
these
was
hearing
that.
aids nowadays are Bluetooth. You can turn them on. They can go to your TV directly. Did you know that? No. One of my clients, Tad, he's like 94. His hearing aids work so good that I was sitting in the car talking to him on the phone, through the phone to his hearing aid, and he could hear me. But I'm sitting next to him. I couldn't talk to him because he was practically deaf.
So they met the neighbor, and they obviously said, "You're
Hey, what's up
watching
with your
pornography and
viewing
at night,
pleasure?"
and we can hear it."
I don't even know if they said
Yeah,
they
don't
didn't
need
really
to.
tell me any like confrontation about that. They just said it was we believe
wise.
it was an elderly man who didn't probably notice, and he might not have had his hearing aid in because he's so nice and this and that. Like they love the neighborhood. Everything worked out in the end. They're super happy. They were super happy to see me. Again, being from Amsterdam, they're like, we're super liberal and open to this type of stuff. And there's like there's basically bus stop signs with topless women on it. We're totally fine with sexuality, but it was just a little too much at the moment.
Yeah, at night when you're trying to sleep, and then you don't know if it's a video or someone who's just more impressive than you in the bedroom.
Well, maybe. I mean, I would start thinking all kinds of stuff. I would not think that it was an older gentleman.
No, I wouldn't.
I would think it was a party with numerous people because we're talking surround sound. Like if you're hearing it that far away, like that's pretty heavy duty. But again, deafness comes in various shapes and forms.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
And you know what the other thing is? When you have it in surround sound like that, you act like the vibrations really come through.
And you know what? Here, oh my God, I just got that.
I didn't actually mean it to be that way, but I'm just saying, like that's it goes to other
bass,
properties through the ground.
You can really feel the bass on that, I'm sure.
When I was 16, my car had 2 JL12s, so that's all I think of.
Yeah. I
You know
remember the
what?
good old days.
I'm gonna say that I think like old men are like my favorite people on the planet. First of all of this reminds me of my dad. I won't go into that story, but it's
I like old men as long as they're not perverts and bigots. We're cool.
Yeah. I'm moving, and I just met the older neighbor who's down the street, and like he literally just I waved. He walked over, and I said, "Hi, I'm your potential neighbor," and he goes, "What? I can't hear you." And I go, "I'm your potential neighbor," and he's like, "I was just over here because the mailbox seemed wiggly."
But the best part about those guys is that you have a lot of leeway on what you say. If you make a mistake, you're cool, and you just start writing.
The neighborhood. They want to maintain everything in the neighborhood so that the
That's a
neighborhood
good
mailbox is wiggly. So maybe that's how they met him.
That's that pride of
and
ownership
they were
factor.
like, "Oh, I
Plenty of time on their hands.
they're cool people."
I'm a fan. And, they always like to talk, and I like to talk, so we get that.
Yeah. But you know
Synchronicity.
what? So you had that, and then of course, like.
I mean, that's pretty heavy. The good thing is, I feel like that kind of relationship could yield a lot of referrals for years to come because there's a lot of vulnerability there. Even if they are from Amsterdam and they don't mind porno being played for their kids or whatever, like,
that's true.
They're not
going to
Amsterdam. They're not going to forget the experience that Joe gave them just by following up.
Yeah.
I definitely could tell with their excitement is to see me and whatnot. We even said, let's like do a dinner sometime. We can come over anytime type of situation. I mean,
So
I know
actually
they really
developed a
appreciate-
friendship.
Yeah.
I'm all for friendship with my clients.
Yeah.
Many of them. My wife is not for my friendship with my clients.
Really?
Yeah, no. There's just too much. There's too much there. There's too many clients that I want to be friends with. So I have to draw those boundaries.
True. Because you just get to like people.
I do. I like people a lot.
Yeah.
Good people.
I wish there was more time in the day sometimes to, hang out with all of them and have relationships with
every
them.
Single day.
It happens.
Well, you learn new lessons in this business every single time. And what most people don't realize, and I actually learned this from an instructor when I started getting my license. He said, memorize everything because everything you learn to be a great realtor is going to be like
experiential.
Immersion.
It's just like when you're learning a language. Like if you have to speak it, you're going to do it that much faster.
Yeah, and then you learn from other people too. So like you have a story about like a closing where you had someone who was still in the property.
Yeah, it's another. Yeah, and again, I love using these examples to clients.
The horror stories,
the horror stories, and what could happen and what not, and how we go about fixing those problems and things like that. So,
well, that's what our platform is. Just to share some, not necessarily horror stories, but realities.
Yeah, exactly. Realities that hopefully end up for the better.
Well, what was that situation?
Almost always.
This story was another military family, and again, Oceanside area. I mean, that's what happens when we have so many military bases here in San Diego.
I'm a big fan of Oceanside. That's why prices have doubled in 3 years. Hello.
So they bought an awesome place, had a pool in the backyard, had a little pool house in the back. They were super excited. We really weren't even looking for a home.
Sounds
pool,
exciting.
But we found one.
Pools are at the top of every buyer's list right now.
I mean, especially at peak of summer, that's what it was when we got the home. So yeah, they got the home with a pool, super nice home, nice neighborhood. We close escrow, do the final walkthrough. There was a tenant living in the pool house, so part of our contract was the tenant would be out by the time we close escrow and do our final walkthrough, which was agreed upon. And the tenant was served 30-day notice or whatever it was. I think he was there under a year. That's why it was 30-day. And sure enough, I do the final walkthrough. We close escrow. I'm there about 20 minutes early before the buyers because I wanted to, make sure the home was in good shape and everything like that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I go over towards the guest house after doing our walk. And you know, come to think about it now, there was also a little pot plant growing right outside that pool house, I remember.
Welcome to Oceanside.
Yeah,
Was there a built-in barbecue in the backyard?
I don't think so.
And an overhang? Okay, never mind.
Thought you
No,
toured it.
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
You were listening agent, weren't you?
No, I wasn't, I swear.
So actually, we went to the back of that pool house, and I see there's like a cat inside. And I was like, who locked a cat in the house? You know, how'd the cat get in?
Can a cat be a tenant?
And no, I don't know. But sure enough, the door's locked. So I'm like, well, none of the keys
That's
obviously work to
weird.
this either. And I'm like, well, how do you get the cat out? And then as I look a little closer, stick my head, and then, you know, the person's things are all still there. Like somebody's still living there.
Man.
Oh, no.
And I would say within 5 minutes of that happening, the neighbor on the other side pops his head over the fence and is like, "Oh, hey, are you the new owners?" And I'm, no, I'm their agent. You know, they're like, "Oh, you know, so and so the tenant wanted me to ask you if he can stay here. He'd pay rent. He's a good tenant. He pays rent. He has his own, you know, junk removal business or something. He's just like pays rent. He keeps himself."
The audacity.
Oh, my Lord.
And I'm just like, no, I don't think so. I mean, like, I'll ask them, but, you know, part of the contract is he's supposed to be out by, you know, a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, well, he's not here right now, but we'll let him know." And I'm like, "Yeah, please let him know, like,
let him
right
know? How about
away."
you give me the phone number?
Wait a second. Who are you again?
Yeah, you're the neighbor?
Yeah.
Can he stay with you? That's what I would have said. Let me just open the store
Basically.
and dump all his stuff
Are
on
you
your
his
side.
advocate?
So, yeah, again, you know, I had my clients got there within, you know, the next 10 minutes, and I'm like, "Hey guys, we have a little
We have
bit
a
of an
problem.
issue that
Damage control.
But I'm on it, right? I'm dealing with it. I'm going to deal with it for you." And you know, I think I called my either team leader or broker at the time. I was just like, "What do you do?" You know?
How
And
does this get resolved?
They were like, "It's either kind of cash for keys. You might have to
Always
get an
cash
eviction
for keys.
tenant, or again, let's just be reasonable and nice." So we were like, you know, he's like, "Hey, I'm having a hard time finding a place that I can afford, you know, this and that," because he did end up showing back up.
Common problem.
And I was just like, "Man, we can give you like 7 days max. That's it, like to kind of get your stuff and
That
find a
was
place and
generous.
whatnot, because you've already had a month and this and that." And you know, he's like, "I don't want any problems, things like that." So
Because you treat him like a human being.
yeah, absolutely.
that's true.
So
Big deal.
you know, he got his stuff out. You know, I followed up within the week, and they're like, "Yeah, he was gone in a couple days or whatever it was," which is good. But
How'd the buyers take it?
they were pretty reasonable and okay. They were a little, you know, scared and hesitant at the same time.
Well, I
you know,
mean,
they have kids.
everybody has horror stories, hears horror stories about a squatting tenant. In California, I think that it's a lot of scary language, you know, because there's so many laws that protect tenants, and many of them for good reasons.
Yeah, and so many times it's how you deal with it. So the fact that you treated him humanely and kindly was probably the reason he was willing to move. If you had been abrupt and rude, he could have dug his heels in for quite a long time.
You're absolutely right. And, you know, that's what we just didn't want to happen. So we
Yeah.
tried to be as reasonable as possible, just give him a little bit of a timeline, a little extra time. And, you know, thankfully he was out.
I call it tenant relations. Tenant relations is a big deal in real estate. I cannot count how many
yeah.
agents I've seen blow deals just by not treating a tenant well.
But
Yeah, actually,
But this was a tenant that it sounds
Yeah.
like wasn't even leaving.
Yeah, and again, it was kind of funny because I think it was that exact day, or maybe a little bit beforehand. My clients were like, "Where does he go to the bathroom? This is not there's no bathroom or
it's just
running
a room."
water. It was just a box basically with a bed in it.
Wow.
And his
That
cat
nice.
was living in it, stuff like that. And
Oh.
I mean, the guy's, you know. Anyways, I followed
Yeah.
up again like I always do with my clients.
Aye,
Wanted
aye,
to
aye.
check out and see how everything was going. And it was either me checking in or my client following up with me and just being like, "I think I found out where he's been using the bathroom."
Oh, wow.
And I mean, again, he didn't give me much more than that, but I can only imagine
Wow.
like if the guy was either
Gross.
digging a hole or just going on the side of the house
No.
or in a butt. I have no
Stop
idea, but
it.
it was
Not uncommon in San Diego. Number of reasons why. The weather.
Nasty.
The weather. You can
the
do a
weather
lot
lets them
outside.
poop outside.
You can do anything outside in San Diego.
Bag
You're not
that.
going to freeze
Bag
your
it
extremities.
and throw it away.
Yeah, but, you know, when you're... I don't think this guy was homeless, but when you're in a position
Yeah.
of low housing security, I think people do a lot to preserve their dignity. It's the reason why paper towels and toilet paper were so,
Yeah, but
scarce at the beginning of the pandemic.
You're also, as a homeowner, not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to rent out a space that doesn't have heat or plumbing
Oh, it's
or
as
water.
illegal as
Yeah.
putting children in a hazardous, it's a health hazard.
It's a health hazard.
And they will prosecute on that. Yeah. So I'm glad that guy got out of there. And I'm glad that it wasn't contaminated by his...
Yeah, I think, they called me up a few months ago. Now they're renting their place out. We might sell at the end of the year. But, same thing.
See?
The relationship's still there. It's,
Well, some of my past clients were so rude, they would have been like, you need to come dig this out of the ground and remove it from my property right now. Or, whatever the case was, because they're just too high on the customer service totem pole. They really think that everybody should just bow down to them.
Well, whenever there's a situation where I'm in a house where both toilets aren't working, I am always like, well, where is this going? Like, what are they doing? I had a situation where I'm like, listen, there was a tenant in the property. It was really in unlivable condition. It was a hoarding situation. And I said, we have to tread very delicately on, having this guy move out. Not only was it a hoarding situation that he had been living in, because he was
with
renting,
rodents, for sure.
He was renting a room.
Yep.
There were rodents. There was one bathroom with no workable toilet or shower.
That's not a bathroom, that's a sink.
Yeah. And he had diabetes and was on dialysis.
That makes me so sad.
And I was like, look, this isn't even, they didn't know he was in the property when they took over the property. And I said, we have to tread carefully. So, we had him go through a program where he found safe housing. We gave him plenty of time to move. He left a bunch of stuff, but I was like, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it.
God bless you. I just think about what an aggressive, ruthless agent would do and push them out fast and not help them with resources. And
because you can't treat people that way.
But this industry doesn't think with lawsuits in mind usually. This is more about self-serving agents who just want to close a deal or get a listing, right?
Yeah.
And older folks are getting taken advantage of day in and day out. Here in San Diego, we're seeing it all the time because the value of their homes has gone up sharply and they don't keep it nice. Yeah. So cash buyers are around every corner to give them a price that they can make a margin on.
Don't you think sometimes we need them? We go in, I've gone into places
I'm not saying you don't need them.
I see like horrifying things and like...
Yeah, no. Those are, the investors are the only ones who will buy those homes.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever walked in on a property?
Yeah, just the other day it was a live snake. I thought it was dead snake, but it was a live snake.
On the floor?
Just basically living in the middle. It was a vacant place in like Bonzal Vista, Fallbrook, like right around that border.
Rural.
And
it must have been like a constrictor, like a boa or a python.
I think it was a gopher snake, to be honest, just like a gopher snake.
Oh.
But same thing. We looked at, as soon as we walk up to the pool, it was green with like trash in it. We were just like, is this like kind of like a party house, like a vacant, part where people just come and party here when nobody's here type of thing?
Let me guess, this was listed for a price that correlated to a very nice property.
Yes. And, just reeked of cigarettes, like somebody was just smoking cigarettes in there, even though it was completely vacant. I think the door was actually just open already, maybe.
It's open.
So I was a little scared. We didn't go too much further. I was with my clients who were luckily veterinarians, and they had their 2 young daughters, though, which the daughters were immediately screaming and crying and leaving.
There will be no young daughters in a scary property.
Sure enough, we get my client gets close enough to that snake, and he's like, I think it's still alive. I can see its tongue kind of flickering out. But he was covered in like lint, so I was like, is he moldy? I couldn't tell. I thought he went through the dryer vent, maybe something like that to get in.
But the guy's a veterinarian, so
Yeah, I was. I tried to take a picture. I realized that I was too afraid to take a good one because afterwards it was just a blur, and then we got out of there. But
snakes do strike fear in quite a few people.
Yeah, including me.
Me included.
They can be harmless, and still they're scary just because they don't have legs.
I let the agent know that there was, just in case.
Yeah, just in case. You know what? Listen, I'm a city girl. I will go to country to show houses, but it is very apparent to my clients that I am not designed for country living.
Is it the shoes you wear?
It's probably the shoes I wear. I wore the wrong shoes today. I was trucking up and down the side of this hill because I wanted to look under my client's deck. And then I almost fell. He caught me. Then we look and we start hearing...
The sprinkler.
No, like a snake.
Oh.
And so, of course, I'm the slowest one there. And I'm like, go.
You got to watch Christina's Instagram videos because... She's great. She runs. She'll push everybody else out of the way to get out of there, which is very George Costanza-y.
I'm like a little human marshmallow running with no coordination.
She's not a human marshmallow, guys. Don't listen to her. You know, Joe, you brought some good ones. I think there's another. Is it serious?
There's a few. Hold on. So
I think we wanted to talk serious.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about what is the biggest life lesson you've learned in real estate? The story that really shaped you either positively or negatively.
I got a good one about that. This is I think it happened about 2 years ago. So I mean, I helped clients. It's funny, again, military, buy an Oceanside. It was a new construction home. I thought it was more home than they needed. I think the wife was trying to get pregnant or was pregnant at the time, but they wanted to buy like a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house and had, HOA, I think a little bit of Melrose. It was a pretty big house. And I thought it was, again, he already got out of the military, so I was wondering what he was going to be using to fund the house.
Yeah.
Money-wise, yeah.
Yeah, he was getting into stuff kind of like maybe what we're doing now, where he wanted to almost work for like a Tony Robbins or type of, be like either
a rah-rah.
Yeah, be a coach or something. I'm not sure what was going on. Anyways, dressed really nice, always held himself real classy and whatnot. Like,
and
he
obviously
was making $1 million.
Had the money to consummate the purchase.
Yeah, had the money to buy the house, which was fair enough with a VA loan still, but he could afford it.
Yeah,
him and his wife. About 2 years later, literally just when COVID started, it was just, the market kind of just froze all of a sudden. It was like, what's happening? What's going on? Were prices about to drop? Things like that.
I remember about 2.5 months of just sheer uncertainty.
Yeah. So that's kind of what was going on. And so I believe it was probably 2 months after that. And he was telling me, he called me, hey, it's time to sell. I think, I can't afford the payments right now. Things aren't going as well as I thought they would be with work and life and whatnot. Sure enough, I'm like, okay. And this was, I think, one of my first listings, probably my first 2 to 3 listings I ever did. But, I was ready to help him list the house. We called the bank. We were on the phone together trying to figure out exactly how much he owes on the home because I know it was getting close. He didn't pay off too much because appreciation wasn't the way it was during COVID.
Right.
It was still, at our normal, probably 6 to 8% over the last 2 years before that.
Well, and not just that, but there were some workout agreements, a lot of workout agreements that were being done.
Absolutely.
So, it was a pretty sensitive time, I guess.
Yeah. And so, we were on the phone with the bank. I tried calling first for him to help out, and of course the bank wasn't going to give me the information. So we had three-way call with me, and the bank gentleman on the phone tells us how much he owed on the home. So we go, okay, cool, fair enough. And we owe this much. So now I can start running some numbers for you, get you a seller net sheet, all that kind of stuff. Again, during that time, I was advised to get a payoff slip from either escrow or, I think my team leader at the time. And this was something I was kind of pushing my client to get. Obviously we were on the phone and they told us a number, but still I was pushing them to get the payoff slip, And it took, I think, maybe a week or two to actually get there, or he just kind of lagged or delayed on actually ordering it.
Yeah.
Even though escrow was following up with me every week to be like, did he order this yet? We need this. Because I knew it was kind of cutting it short.
It's crazy how long some people take on these documents.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, time really matters with, real estate and escrow. I mean, there's timelines and contracts that we need to stick to.
Had you already procured a buyer?
So that's the way it went. We listed the home. Photos were done, everything else, listed the home. But again, very few buyers were buying at this time. It was such an uncertain time in the market. So, doing the numbers, I was like, and again, there was no comparables or comps to kind of base that off of. It was just kind of like what we hope we can get type of thing, or let's list it at this price because
it's worth what someone's willing to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. So, we listed the home. We had a couple offers. I was running numbers, and I was like, again, based on giving a buyer's agent commission and, us cutting it so close, I don't think this offer will be best for us. There's a little less risk here. You're not going to make as much money on it to my clients. And I got a phone call from, somebody who saw me as a listing agent and was like, hey, I heard that you will get a better deal if you help us out, you know?
That's what
and
they
I'm
say,
like,
yeah.
You know what? This is actually what we need right now to make these numbers work for my clients to sell this home.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it basically. Yep. So, I cut off one side of the commission. I'm double ending it again. First time
that's what people
ever
don't
doing
get.
that.
Whenever they ask me that, I'm like, you don't understand. My client's going to ask me to cut my commission, right?
Yep.
And then
you're
I'm going
asking
to
me
do
to do
double
it
the
too.
work.
Yeah.
So basically, double the work. So I usually say no, but you were kind enough in this situation.
I've done it too. I usually regret it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this is why it's such a big lesson learned. Again, I did that, which is something I don't like doing at all, is cutting commissions or things like that, because I am doing double the work. And it's very, very stressful being in the middle of a buyer and a seller, especially when you're representing both.
Well, the truth is, all this is kind of a mystery to the consumer public still.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, I'm doing my best to help my clients out. That were my, one of my first clients. They were using me again. They've referred me family members, things like that already. So, I'm doing my best.
You got a high standard for customer service.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, running the numbers, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, this is, the offer we have to go with, basically, to make this work for your numbers, and I'll represent her and you. At the same time, it was one of my first listings, so I was getting experience.
Sure.
Plus, honestly, it was probably one of the biggest checks I've received at the time, because it wasn't like a team lead type situation as well. It was now a past client or sphere.
So there was nobody in your pockets on the deal, or less.
Exactly.
Right?
When you're starting out, it was just, this was all me, which was great. It was something big for me. It was one of the, again, wasn't a crazy big check, but it would have been one of the better ones that I got.
It's what you dream about when you get into real estate.
Exactly. Because before you're getting really small ones, because all the the way it works.
The splits.
Exactly. Especially starting out with training being involved. So, we're about to close. About, I would say, 2 days before closing, escrow calls me going, "We have a problem." Like, I remember the exact words of Sarah. "We got a problem."
Okay, spit it out. Come on.
They're going to short sale. This is not, they got the payoff slip, but whoever you spoke to over the phone didn't add, I think, the taxes and interest in the payoff slip. So we got a verbal number, and then all of a sudden the payoff slip is about $20,000 more. So I'm already doing, cutting my commission, helping double end it, making sure all the numbers work so they don't short sale or lose the home.
Wow.
And again, the buyer that I'm representing, so double ending, she's an attorney. So I call her basically and go, "Hey, this is the situation. Like, are you willing to pay more for the house to make this work? I'm already going to cut my commissions even lower now and get no commissions whatsoever to make this work."
Dying to know what she said.
No, that was her answer.
Good.
No.
Honestly,
you know what I mean?
I disagree.
I
think he's cutting, they're cutting. I think she
I'm a
should
collaborative
have
agent,
come in.
and I agree with you. She should, but I understand why she wouldn't.
Yeah. Again, being an
She
attorney,
had an agreed price, and that was not her problem.
Exactly.
I got it.
So, it's a nightmare, right? I'm just devastated. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to go to court, because I'm double ending both people. I don't want my other clients to have to go to court. They're already in a tough situation.
Oh, there's 100 different ways it could go from that point.
Instead of, it going to short sale, I gave up my, it was $15,000 basically. I had to, myself and my team, luckily, who again wasn't going to make any money off this, but helped me get the clients in the beginning, and they got their split. We, coughed up another, I think, $7,000 to not let the home short sale, to close, basically on time for that buyer, and walk
do
away
what's
being
right
the heroes.
for them. Yeah, I mean, the truth is, we do this. We have to, because what are we going to do? Be dumb and cost our clients the home and then have no referral source or relationship remaining?
Or worse, because they're in the military, lose their VA availability if they have to short sale.
There's a lot
They
of
probably
ways
never would have been able to buy a home again, or for quite a while with getting screwed on that situation. So,
well, I was lucky that they had you to deal with that. I mean, as much as that hurt,
Yeah, I still feel it right now, honestly. I'm just
a lot of agents wouldn't have done the collaborative thing and figured out a way to make it work. So, kudos to you for sure.
Thank you.
100%. And
Unbelievable.
those people, I hope they love you. They should.
Well, what's the lesson you learned from that? What do you do differently
Well,
now?
absolutely. The lesson I learned is, always make sure they get that payoff slip before we even hit the market.
Yeah.
That's super important.
Yep.
Again, somebody who's only owned a home a couple of years. Again, if it was the COVID appreciation, you double, triple check those types of numbers to make sure that, how much they actually owe. For that reason. And again, even just being in the middle of a buyer and a seller is something that I really want to reconsider. And again, I probably wouldn't cut my commission completely on one end, just because the amount of work and stress honestly that you'd have to go through. I mean,
it's always better to assign a trusted agent to that buyer.
Absolutely.
It's always
absolutely.
Partner up with
I agree.
somebody.
That's something I'm going to do for the next one for sure. It's not even, it was me just trying to help
two
people out.
It's heavy, and it sounds like it was costly for you, but probably not in the long term. That's my opinion.
Again, the lessons learned from that are kind of priceless.
It's a big deal.
It's something real estate you learn and you just take with you, and you don't forget, and you talk to other people about what happened, so then they could learn from that as well.
I think that if I were you, I would just want a ton more porno buyers and I mean, because they're okay with whatever, right? You can literally sell them any.
clients from Amsterdam,
yeah,
basically.
they're cool. They're gonna make friends with the people eventually anyway.
That is so funny.
But no, I mean, I feel like we just never know what's gonna happen. Real estate's crazy.
Real estate is definitely crazy. And Joe, thank you
Oh, it's
so
my
much.
We appreciate you being
I
here.
appreciate you having me.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Honestly, 4 years and these kinds of stories coming out.
I know.
Can you only imagine the next 5 years what this guy's gonna
Oh
have?
goodness.
Just keep calling us. We'll have you back.
You know, I know which agents are going to weather the storm. I can tell right away, because this is a time when things are changing. You got to pivot. Joe's in it for the long haul.
Yep. Thank
think
you,
so.
Joe.
Until next
Appreciate it.
time.
Thank you guys.
Real estate is crazy.
Appreciate it.
Real estate's crazy.